Yes, please. And wait for the microphone, please.
Szymon Marcinów, Podrewski Foundation. I have a question that might bring a little bit twist to the conversation. We talked a lot about national security in terms of energy, and there are three aspects. There's sources of energy that we talk about, Shale and other countries. There's also infrastructure that, especially in Poland, is pretty old and need a lot of investments. But there's also a way to protect this infrastructure. And I just want to talk about, especially with cyber security and protecting the energy grid right now. Is there some type of cooperation between the government and the private sector in terms of protecting the energy grid? And if so, what it is and how it works? And in terms of a transatlantic cooperation, is there a way for cooperation between the United States and Europe in terms of protecting, on the level of cyber, the energy resources and grids? Thank you.
Thank you. And let me take one other question, if I may, if there is one. Yes, over there.
I've got Cezary Filipowicz, United Oilfield Services. I've got a question to you as a moderator, actually. Mr. Ambassador, when you were in Poland, you were very enthusiastic and deeply involved in shale gas project in Poland. Tell us how it looks like today from American perspective, when you are not anymore in Poland, but you are on the other side of Atlantic. Does any hope for success remain?
Was it my idea to take two questions at once? Okay, let's go first to the cyber security and energy grid question and the degree to which there's a private sector public cooperation. Mr. Prime Minister, I'm tempted to talk to you about this, but also, Mr. Chairman, you may have some experience as well, given your work around the world, but I open the floor.
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to address the issue of cyber security regarding the Polish grid. What we have to take into consideration regarding the existing grid in Poland and the whole transmission system is that in fact Poland is insulated from external markets. Even though there are some technical opportunities to transmit energy from abroad, probably the surpluses are available not in the peak hours where exactly could be an issue for us. And also the volumes which could be transmitted from abroad are not that significant to the total turnover or the production needs of energy in Poland. So that's why maybe some of the Polish neighbors would like to provide us a kind of assistance in transmission, and then on the basis that we have a new grid, a new connection, then we eventually could sell the energy on the Polish market, which could be a good business, because in our big neighboring country, I understand there are different prices for different customers. So there is no such an issue as a market price. On the contrary, the price is connected to the oil prices, which is quite ridiculous. So it's relatively easy if you have an access to the much cheaper energy price, to also on the basis of that to develop your different manufacturing capabilities, yes, because, well, I will buy gas not for 500, but for 100 or 150, and immediately my business case is changed if it's an energy-intensive kind of activity. So that's why maybe the question of the security emerged, because the more I know about this business, the more I understand that in Europe, and also due to our neighbor provider, it's not that much about business, but it's about politics. And when it's about politics, then the whole picture has to be adjusted to this realistic assessment. And it makes the situation more difficult, of course.
Any others? Yeah,
Może
please.
też dwa słowa, bo
Perhaps a couple of words, because you
problemu,
actually
mianowicie
touched on an
bezpieczeństwa
important
energetycznego.
issue.
I co to jest bezpieczeństwo
Grid
energetyczne? Bo
safety and grid
to, o czym
safety
powiedział
and the
pan
sector
premier,
safety.
tego faktu, że Polska praktycznie
the
jest
Prime Minister
zamknięta i nie tylko Polska, zresztą
has
wszystkie
said
kraje
that
europejskie
Poland is
nie ma
isolated
wspólnej
in a way, or
polityki
insulated.
energetycznej.
There is
Jest
no,
polityka,
it's true about other
Francja
countries.
ma swoją
There
politykę,
is
Niemcy mają
no
swoją,
common
Polska ma swoją,
energy
tak
policy.
mógłbym to wymieniać. I z tego też
Germany,
powodu
France or Poland.
nie ma bezpieczeństwa
Each of the
energetycznego
countries has
europejskiego
its
i nie ma
own
bezpieczeństwa
policy, so
energetycznego
there is no
poszczególnych krajów.
grid safety on a
Utrzymywanie
common
całego
platform
systemu,
or
tak by
safety in each
bez
country
pomocy
at a national
zewnątrz musiał
level.
funkcjonować
So to
po prostu
maintain
drogie.
each
Na przykład
system
dzisiejsza
individually without any external
energii
support
odnawialnej,
would be very expensive. Now, today's debate
wiatr jest
on
najtańszym
on
źródłem
sort
energii,
of
bo po 6 latach nie kosztuje
bioenergy,
nic.
well,
Ale
wind, for
kosztuje
example.
oczywiście to, że
This is
musimy
probably the
mieć
cheapest energy.
w systemie energię,
It does not
która
cost anything,
będzie
but
wtedy
we
ten
need
system
energy
zaopatrywała, kiedy wiatr
or
nie
sources of
wieje.
energy in the system
Zdecydowanie
available
tańszą rzeczą
when
jest połączenie wszystkich
they are
interkonektorii,
still.
połączenie europejskiego
So
systemu w jeden
getting
system.
all this
Bo tak się
interconnected
dzieje, że jak wieje wiatr
and
w Holandii, to
ensure one
niekoniecznie musi
sister.
wiać w Polsce,
Well,
jak wieje w
the
Polsce, to
wind in
niekoniecznie
Holland
musi
does
wiać
not necessarily
w Czechach. I
blow
nawet
in
tylko
Poland
biorąc
or
jako podstawę
Bohemia.
energię wiatrową,
So,
ale to dotyczy również
well, that's
wszystkich
about
innych energii.
wind energy,
Gdybyśmy
but it's true
mieli,
about other
mieli
energies or
połączenia
all the
między
sources of energy.
państwami. Przede
If
wszystkim
we
przeznaczyli
had
pieniądze na tą
connections
infrastrukturę, która
among the
jest niezbędna.
countries
Dlatego
and
ta
spent
energetyka w
money
Stanach Zjednoczonych
on
tak
the
dobrze
infrastructure,
funkcjonuje, bo tam nie ma problemu,
required
że
infrastructure.
Kalifornia
Well,
inną politykę niż Nowy Jork na
in the
przykład.
United States, we have, in a way,
To
common
się
policy.
przekłada
California
oczywiście na
has
pieniądze,
no
to się
other
przekłada
policy
ogromnie.
than the state
Ale
of New
poza
York.
tym
It's
również
all,
nie byłoby
it is all
dyskusji, czy
translated
jedno
into
bardziej czy
money.
mniej zaprzyjaźnione
Then we
państwo
wouldn't have
może
here in
dyktować
Europe, we
ceny,
wouldn't have
całej reszcie.
any discussion about the prices and the fact that
system
some
energetyczny
countries are in a
europejski
position to
byłby
dictate
jednolitym
the prices to
systemem,
the other
to
ones.
wówczas ta nasza
If the European
niezależność
system
i
were
energetyczna,
a
i
homogeneous,
polityczna zupełnie
uniform
inaczej
system,
wyglądały.
our independence, grid independence or energy independence would look differently.
Thank you very much. I will get to the question I was answered a little bit later in the panel, but I'd like to give my co-panelists the opportunity to answer more questions. So please, the floor is open. Yes, over there.
Jana Kielaszek, akcjonariusz paru firm. Według mnie to, o czym Państwo mówicie, jest dla Polski czasami szkodliwe i błędne. Gaz łupkowy, zgadzam się, energetyka w tej chwili, w tej małej ojczyźnie, jaką jest Dolny Śląsk, powinna być oparta na węglu brunatnym. Pani kanclerz Merkel podwaja wartość wydobycia węgla brunatnego. My mamy
the
tutaj w tym
value
rejonie około
of
20
brown coal
miliardów ton węgla,
exploration. We have
co w
20
przeliczeniu na ceny
billion
dzisiejsze
ton
jest
of
to
brown
1
coal
400
here.
miliardów
This is
złotych.
1 billion.
A w produkcie finalnym to jest około 12
400
bilionów
million
złotych.
zlotys, and that would be
węgla
12
brunatnego
billion
na Dolnym
zlotys.
Śląsku
So
jest po prostu
by
szkodliwe.
ignoring brown
Węgiel
coal
brunatny
here in
powinien
Lower
wejść
Silesia
według
is
mnie
not good.
w sferę
I believe
rozważań
that brown coal
energetyki polskiej.
should be
Dziękuję.
included into Polish energy policy.
Panie premierze.
Myślę, że tutaj ja może odpowiem po polsku, bo wydaje mi się, że
Let me reply in Polish.
jak nastąpiło jakieś nieporozumienie, bo
I think there is a slight
przed
misunderstanding.
chwilą ambasador
Ambassador
Feinstein zadał
Feinstein
pytanie dotyczące
asked a
optymalnego
question about the
miksu energetycznego
optimum mix
dla Polski.
for Poland,
I ja powiedziałem wyraźnie, że
and I said
z
very
tego, co
clearly,
przynajmniej nasz model pokazuje, kiedy
that
chcielibyśmy
from
optymalizować
we see
najniższe
it in
koszty
the model,
wytwarzania
if we
energii
want
w Polsce, to
to
powinno się do
optimize the cost of energy in Poland, energy production in Poland, we should
produkcję energii
maintain
z węgla kamiennego i brunatnego przynajmniej na tym
the
samym
charcoal and
poziomie,
brown
więc,
coal at the
nie wiem,
same
gdzie pan
energy,
usłyszał,
at the same
przepraszam,
level.
to
I'm not sure.
głos o likwidacji produkcji
Well,
energii z węgla
I just
brunatnego.
wonder
Przecież
when
te podstawowe liczby
hear
dotyczące właśnie kosztu produkcji
anything
energii
about
węgla brunatnego
getting
też w
rid
Polsce
of
są
brown coal
powszechnie
as a
znane.
source of energy. We know that
Just a
this is a
point of,
huge potential.
Reference to the question.
Thank you.
I don't want to defend Angela Merkel. That would be too much for me to do today. And I'm not sure exactly what the details are behind her position on brown coal in Poland. But I do want to note in the TTIP, the Transatlantic context, one of the great ironies of Germany's decision to phase out nuclear, there's still a lot of devil in the details work to be done about whether in the short term the nuclear is being replaced by French nuclear or whether it's being replaced by South African and American hard coal exports to Germany, which for at least 2 out of the last 3 years have been on a significant rise, and you mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think it's an irony in the German political context because obviously both of those are inconsistent with the German sort of end goal strategy, and I just wanted to mention that.
I wonder if I can take the privilege of the chair and ask Mr. Chairman a bit about the energy situation in some of the places that you're active, and I'm particularly interested, this is the Wroclaw Global Forum after all, if you could give us a little bit of a sense about what's happening in Africa.
No, Afryka to, jak Państwo wiedzą,
Well, as you may well know,
ostatnia moja miłość.
Africa is
Mam
my
nadzieję, że będzie
last
trwała
love,
wiecznie.
and I hope it's going to last
Wynika
forever.
to z faktu, że ja widzę tam
The
największy
reason being
potencjał,
that
jaki w tej
I can
chwili
see
w
the
tym
greatest
globalnym świecie się
potential in
10
this
krajów najszybciej
globalized
rozwijających się w świecie,
world.
6 to są kraje afrykańskie.
Out of 10 countries,
Średni
6
wzrost
of the
PKB jest
fastest
w okolicach
developing countries are 6 are
czyli właściwie
in
niedościgniony
Africa.
dla reszty świata. Oczywiście każdy może powiedzieć, że startują z niskiego
0.5%,
pułapu,
this
ale
is
musimy mieć
the
świadomość
GDP
tego, że rzeczą najważniejszą
growth rate.
w gospodarce
Well, obviously they
rynkowej
start
jest
pretty
rynek.
low, but we need to bear in
I
mind
Europa,
that
którą
the
wszyscy
market-driven
kochamy,
economy
którą
is based
wszyscy
on the
uwielbiamy,
market.
którą,
We all love Europe.
chełpimy się jej historią,
We
no,
are all
jest
very
najstarszym
proud of
kontynentem.
our legacy and our
I to
heritage.
się zmienia
This is the
niestety coraz
oldest
bardziej
document,
na korzyść,
but
na niekorzyść. I
it's
średnia wieku
there is a change of tide,
będzie
and it's not in
niedługo
our
dochodziła
favor.
do przeszło 40 lat,
The average age in Europe,
co jest
40 plus.
dla z punktu widzenia ekonomicznego
From the
no,
economy
złą informacją,
angle
bo
is not
to znaczy, że ten rynek jest
not any
coraz
good
słabszy
news.
i
The market
ten
is not getting
potencjał
any stronger,
produkcyjny, który Europa posiada,
and
ten potencjał
the
intelektualny,
manufacturing
ten
and
kapitał, który
production
posiada,
potential, the intellectual
no,
potential
jest dzisiaj
the
praktycznie
capital
konsumowany
of
na
Europe
wydatki
is
socjalne.
being
Ja wiem, że to
consumed
trudno się w świecie
by
polityki
the
o tym mówi, ale
welfare.
taka jest prawda.
It's difficult to
Ja
raise the point
osobiście,
in
no,
the
nie
world
mogę
of
się zgodzić,
politics.
że
This
Europę
point in the
stać
world
na
of
to, by wydać
politics,
330
I can't agree
miliardów na
that
pomoc
Europe
dla Grecji, 8
may
milionów ludzi.
spend
W Lagos
33
żyje
billion
28 milionów
for
ludzi, a w
8
Afryce
million
żyje miliard.
in
I
Greece.
według
If we
ostatnich
think
danych
about
Banku
1 billion in
Światowego
Africa or
wystarczyłoby 125
80
miliardów
billion
dolarów
somewhere else,
na przygotowanie całej
125
infrastruktury Afryki,
dollar would
która byłaby w stanie
suffice
uruchomić
in
ogromny
order
potencjał,
to
który istnieje w postaci
draft a project
minerałów. Plus do
for
tego ten
Africa
rynek, który,
and the huge potential, the
który
potential
jest dzisiaj rynkiem miliarda ludzi.
in
Za
terms of
30 lat to będzie 2 miliardy. Sama Nigeria ma
mining.
200 milionów, za 30 lat będzie
When
miała
we think
400
about,
milionów, czyli
for example,
dokładnie tyle,
Nigeria,
ile dzisiaj,
200 million
ile będzie
people,
za lat 30 miała Europa.
well, this is
I
what
wydaje mi się,
Europe
że
will count
ten
in
potencjał ogromny, który my
30
tu w
years'
Europie mamy,
time,
ten potencjał,
the
o
huge
którym mówiłem,
potential
ludzki,
that we have
kapitałowy,
here in
doświadczenie,
Europe,
wiedzę,
human potential,
jak powinna
knowledge,
funkcjonować infrastruktura,
and our understanding of infrastructure.
ogromnym asetem,
I
który
believe
w
this is
połączeniu
a
z tym
strong
ogromnym potencjałem
asset, undeniable
Afryki
asset,
dałby
combined,
szansę
that
Europie,
may be combined
i tu
with
podkreślam
Africa
Europie, bo
and
dzisiaj
create
Europa
a
bardziej
new
potrzebuje nowych
opportunity
rynków
to
i
Europe
rynkiem
because
najbardziej
it's
naturalnym
Europe
jest Afryka, niż
that
Afryka
needs
potrzebuje
new
Europy.
markets.
Myślę,
It's
że to
Europe
doświadczenie,
that needs
które
Africa rather than Africa
żeby
needing
wrócić do tej
Europe,
naszej dyskusji
wanting Europe. Back
atlantyckiej,
to our Atlantic
to doświadczenie
debate.
technologiczne, to doświadczenie
The
kulturowe i to wszystko, co my w
technology
Europie mamy.
experience,
Plus ten
cultural
potencjał
experience,
Stanów
everything that we have
Zjednoczonych,
here,
ten potencjał amerykański. Wydaje mi się, że to jest jedyna droga,
combined
by
with
zbalansować
the American
świat,
potential.
bo
This is the
dzisiaj
only
musimy sobie
way
jasno powiedzieć,
to
że
balance
Stany
the
Zjednoczone
world.
plus Europa to jest tylko
Europe
10%
and the
ludności
United
świata,
States
10%.
accounts
Ja
only
nie wiem,
for
czy
10%
90% świata
of the
da
world
sobie
population.
narzucić
I don't think
reguły i zasady,
90%
według
of
których
the
ma
world is
funkcjonować.
likely
Mówimy o gazie
to
łupkowym. Nie
accept
zapominajmy, że Stany
obediently what
Zjednoczone są na
10%
czwartym
want.
miejscu
We are
pod
talking
względem
about
ilości gazu łupkowego. Na
fos-
pierwszym miejscu są Chiny.
shale
Ta mapa
gas.
świata się może
Well,
drastycznie
the
zmieniać,
United
jeżeli
States
jeszcze
are not
do
the
tego
first.
dołożymy
It's
te kraje
China who's
Ameryki
actually,
Południowej,
with their
które się
resources,
rozwijają,
plus
to jeżeli
obviously
my,
the South
Europejczycy, my
American
Amerykanie, nie zauważą
countries.
faktu,
Unless
że dzisiaj
Europeans and
90%
Americans
świata żyje innym rytmem, żyje
appreciate the
innym
fact
taktem
that
i ma
the
w
rest
dużej
of the
części też
world
inne wartości
lives at a
niż my
different
reprezentujemy.
pace and they
Po
have a
prostu
different
uważam, że
set
musimy
of
to
values.
uszanować,
We need
a
to
szanując te
understand,
wartości i
accept and
dostrzegając
respect
te
it
90% świata,
by
mogąc
appreciating the
zaoferować
fact,
nie tylko
embracing this fact.
ten kapitał,
We
ale ten
can
intelekt, to doświadczenie,
also
jesteśmy w
try
stanie
to
ten świat
offer
w
to
jakiś
them
sposób
our
zacząć balansować, bo
capital,
jeżeli tego się nie
and in
zrobi,
that way we
to-
can
to
try to
nie łudźmy się.
balance the other
90% świata
the other part of the
narzuci nam,
world. And don't
jak
get
mamy żyć.
delusional. 90% of the world is going to impose their values on us.
Thank you very much. We have a little bit more than 6 minutes left, and I'm keen to get as many questions in as we can. Over on the left, please.
Oksana Ansabur, Center for Global Studies, Strategy 21. Nowadays, Poland is building the LNG terminal in Świnoujście, and on the other side of Atlantic, United States of America are going to be an exporter of LNG from 2016. Tell please the prospects of Poland to be an importer of LNG from America, and if there are some prospects, tell please the preconditions for arrangement of such an import from United States to Poland, except signature of free trade agreement. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Łukasz Pawłowski, Tygodnik Kultura Liberalna. Ja mam pytanie do pana prezesa.
Łukasz Pawłowski, Kultura Liberalna Weekly. A question to Mr. Kulczyk. You mentioned the uniformity of some sort of single energy market for European. Now, do you see any realistic chances for a reform like that? In Europe, we're still waiting for a single telecom market. It's nothing like taking off the roaming fees, because, well, we have the interest of the companies and your political interests and social interests. You've mentioned them. The structure of the energy industry is different in each country, and different groups of interest. So any changes in this arrangement would simply be followed by important political consequences. So how do you see this? How do you see it?
Okay, and I'm going to stretch time just a little bit to see if there are any other questions. Just one, and please state it very briefly if you could.
Bardzo krótko, Bartosz
Wiśniewski, Polish Institute of International Affairs. Another question to Mr. Kulczyk. Business has noticed, as you say, the importance and significance of Africa. What should happen in order to attract this attention to the world of politics? I think I will simply turn to Mr. Bielecki, because he's sort of politically more influential, thanks God. Because I'm slightly concerned with one thing. The pace of decision-making process, it's a sort of 4-year cycle from election to election, and this is not true about economy. I haven't seen a business plan in a bank or any business plan that would be accepted by any bank if we planned for 4 years only, 4 years basis. I don't think Europe has an alternative. I think voters electorates should understand the fact that unless Europe reduces its costs, I don't want to use the word, because some political decisions are simply apart from the economic calculation. We have 90% of GDP, but we can't afford 58% of the whole welfare spendings. The world will not accept it, and we will hear the voice of unacceptance. Societies will have to understand that the economy, I think President Clinton, he would say the economy for I think the world in Brussels will finally understand, and also in Paris or Berlin and Warsaw, unless the economy works properly, and unless we understand that the world makes its sums, and they can't. Maybe we can still hold a dozen of conferences, and then the last one, as we say, switches off
and
the light.
I want to give our representatives from the Polish government a chance to respond with apologies for the short amount of time. But Pani Minister.
Well, maybe I would take that question about LNG imports. The terminal in Świnoujście is going to be completed by the end of the next year. And actually this is exactly in that moment when the first shipment of contracted LNG is going to be delivered for Poland. The total capacity is 5,000 and finally 7.5, which means that this terminal is going to serve not only Poland but also the region. And we believe that we will be able to benefit from being the first in this part of Europe offering these services. Of course, we are more than only waiting for the final decision of the US government to be able to import LNG from US, because today, because of the Fukushima disaster, the prices of LNG, this also refers to the contracted by us LNG, are quite high. So once the US starts exporting, we believe that the prices will drop, so we are ready to import. We will be ready with our infrastructure, not only for us, but also for our neighbors.
Thank you. And very briefly on the question of how things look a few years from the very first conference that Minister Sikorski and the U.S. Embassy did on shale, I would just say our goal was not to predict the geology, which we still can't predict, but just to compare notes and share experiences from what the U.S. Experienced, both good and bad, and to help ensure that there would be no artificial barriers to the safe and responsible development of shale gas. And what Minister Stelmach said about these regulations forthcoming, I think will be seen very positively by private industry wherever. And despite the bright lights flashing, I wonder, Mr. Prime Minister, if there's anything you'd like to say.
Just simply to repeat what we open up the whole discussion, at least looking at it, the energy problem and energy mix from the Polish perspective. Yeah, we appreciate the German model, but the German model is extremely expensive model. In German model, they would like to probably optimize the environmental impact and also energy independence, because I understand if 80% is produced out of renewables, then effectively the whole sector is fully independent, but at a very high cost to the taxpayers. In our situation, my private opinion is better to stick to the least cost approach. However, it's up to the politician to make a decision. Advisors should only prepare the different options. And finally, one has to make also a political decision.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We look forward to your white paper. Colleagues, please join me in congratulating this very energetic panel.
We're now going to have a very short coffee break. Please join one of our breakout sessions in 15 minutes, 5:15. The panel on banking union and the future of economic integration will be in room A and B downstairs. Missile defense will be in room C and D downstairs. And the panel on the Middle East will be in the restaurant to the left as you head to the terrace. The breakout sessions conclude at 6:30. Please join us on the buses to go back to the hotels and then follow to the reception. Thank you.